Today we have with us Candace McField. She's one of the top fitness experts in Kansas, and I'm delighted that she's with us today. Candace, would you take a moment to tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, first, Laura, thanks for having me. This is exciting. I'm glad to be here. A little bit about my background. So I am a Kansas native, born and raised, went to school in Los Angeles. Funny stories, I studied economics, so I'm a former life of finance, right? But also got into bodybuilding around like 2005. And so when I was working in finance and then doing bodybuilding, the figure division for ladies, people started asking me like what they should do for working out, for eating, things like that. And so I started my own company in 2008, and just it's been, here I am ever since. Like, you know, as a professional figure competitor, I trained and did shows from like 2006 to 2018, did shows here in the United States, a few international shows. But also by starting a business, it just helped me because I was able to help people transform their lives, not only physically, but like that mental and emotional space as well. And so now what I do is just health coaching for executives through Candace McField Fitness, but also I have a sister brand called As For Me and My Body. And so that brings in a spiritual element of helping believers bridge their spiritual and physical health.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you've written a couple of books. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so my first book is actually called As For Me and My Body. So the one that just helps Christians bridge their physical and spiritual health. My second book coming up is geared towards the executive market. So that's called C-Suite Fit, the Executive's Bulleted Guide to Wellness. Really excited about that one too, coming out soon, but you know how publishing can be.
Yes, and you have a children's book that's in the works.
That's in the works,
You're
right?
amazing.
Right, so I didn't talk about the nonprofit. So I feel like my life is in threes, right? So like my passion is working with executives, my calling is the helping believers, and then my legacy is gonna be working with the kids to help them become healthy global citizens. And that's what I do through Fight Global Obesity.
I love this. I was shocked to read that 19% of America's youth are clinically obese. And that doesn't bode well, right? Over time, that's just going to become a bigger problem.
Yeah.
And so we really want to get that turned around.
Yes, we have to.
Yes.
Right? So that's the obesity statistic, but for physical activity, it's like 77% of our youth do not get enough daily exercise.
Yeah.
But it starts with the parents, I feel like, because what happens at home translates into the youth.
Exactly. And you know, as a society, we've just become so sedentary. So even though we know in our heads that we should be moving every day, why does it matter?
Why does it matter?
Yeah.
Well, I think we've all heard like exercise is medicine, but I feel like when you exercise, when you move, those endorphins are released. You feel like better physically. Not only physically, but again, that mental capacity, that emotional space, it just all gets enhanced. But I think exercise translates to our lives in so many different ways. I think, you know, when I'm working with clients, when they have more confidence, their overall positive attitude is better. It does wonders for not only our health, but like just our mental state of mind as well.
Definitely. And it's, you know, it's kind of, you know, bad things can become bad, worse, right?
Right.
The same is true on the good side. So when we start taking those even baby steps, it seems like that kind of creates the wheel that makes we start to feel better. So then we want to move more. And the more we move, the better we feel. We want to do more things. And when we feel good about ourselves, we tend to take bigger risks that are things that maybe are dreams. And we're just meant for so much more. I so believe that. And so when we talk about making changes, maybe someone who hasn't been moving a lot, maybe it's someone who's been dealing with really serious weight issues, and it's difficult to get started, both physically and emotionally. How can they begin that process?
Well, I think you just highlighted something that's really important is those small steps, right? So it's just like putting that one foot in front of the other, like taking things one day at a time. So I think that people, especially adults, we overcomplicate things. And so like I feel like if you just start, like I don't care if it's 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever, like I tell people all this all the time, that the only person in your race is yourself, right?
Beautiful.
And so don't compare yourself to me or to you or to John or to Jane or whoever, but just focus on being the best you. So even if being the best you is only given like, oh, I could do a 2-minute walk today. So that 2 minutes becomes 5 minutes, and 5 minutes becomes 7 and 10 and 20, 30, whatever. But it's all about those small little steps, or let's say victories, right? So those small victories are then adding up to these bigger moments, bigger wins, bigger opportunities. And it goes back to what you just said of like, you know what, when we do work out, we have that confidence, because like you said, we're made and created for so much more. But a lot of us lack the discipline or the belief in ourselves to go out and accomplish that through exercise and just being healthier.
I love that.
It just helps us just transform.
Totally.
Like even in the workplace, like it's important to have that positiveness or that confidence even while you're at work. And then I feel like exercise is a huge conduit of that.
Yes, absolutely. And I noticed your beautiful necklace, the butterfly. And of course we all know that the butterfly is representative of really what's possible for us in our lives, right?
Right.
That butterfly starts out as this little chrysalis, worm-like thing that becomes this beautiful butterfly. And I believe we're all meant for that.
Yes.
And yet very often what holds us back is the confidence. And it's very often these physical limitations.
Yes.
So when we're, and emotional. And so when we think of ourselves as butterflies, I think that's a beautiful way of recognizing what's possible for us. Mm-hmm. So if someone's just starting out, you mentioned taking small steps. Having a personal trainer, I think, is a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Because it causes you to be a little more intentional. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I like that word intentional. But you know, let's take it a step back to like, regardless whether you have a personal trainer or not, or health coach, like, because some people, maybe you can't afford it, or maybe there's something stopping you from that. Like, perhaps you can enlist a workout buddy. So I feel like that
Love
accountability piece isn't so much about, oh, I need to pay a personal trainer. If you can, great. But if you can't, like your best friend or family, your spouse, or whatever, there's a lot of your dog, right? Go out for walks with your dog, right? It's just movement. Yeah. But yeah, so like, if you can hire that personal trainer, incredible, because you are going to then be very intentional about whatever that game plan you are trying to create, and it's customized for you. But at the end of the day, you have to still put in the work. And so I think that's the toughest part about my job, is that I can build the best game plans. I can build the best, like, whatever, custom nutrition plans. It doesn't matter. I can't work out for you. I can't eat for you. So you have to have that will and drive on your own. So you have to put in the work and listen and just be disciplined and make those sacrifices. And that's what our society lacks. People don't want to be disciplined. They don't want to put in the sacrifices, and they want that quick fix, you know. So, but it's a lot of work.
So yeah, I mean, that's it. It's a decision, isn't it?
A decision.
It's a decision.
An intentional decision.
Absolutely.
You do every single day. Like even I love to work out, but there's days when I don't want to work out.
Yeah.
So some days I'm superwoman and I'm like killing it per se, and there's other days where I'm just like, I'm checking off, like it's a check box. I'm just trying to check off for the day because I just need to get my movement in. It happens to us all.
I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah,
because
there's
that's
valleys.
true. Yeah.
In our journey.
And so what do you do on those days where you just don't feel like it?
Yeah, so, well, you still do it, right? But it's perhaps less intense. You know, maybe instead of doing whatever crazy workout you may have planned, maybe you just take that walk to the park, or like you said, walk your dog. But I think like just moving, getting in something is better than nothing. So perhaps you just modify, you make that pivot. So a lot of times that's what I do. Like, you know, I'm not even feeling this high intensity workout I had planned. So I'll just pivot to, you know what, maybe I'll work in a little bit more stretching that day, or bike riding, or whatever, fun. You know, that brings me to another point. I think people have to find things that they naturally love to do. So if you don't naturally like to run, why run? Like, you're gonna be miserable. You have to find things you love to do. Yeah. So it then becomes not exercise.
the latest fad is pickleball.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
that a
yeah.
wonderful way of getting in some exercise
It is.
and having a great time?
With friends
With
or
friends,
family or
yeah.
whoever. It's like a community like that has just been built over the last few years. But yeah, everybody's playing pickleball. It's fun. I've played a few times.
It is fun. You know, I think when we think about chronic inflammation,
Yes.
we know that chronic inflammation starts with things like exercise. This is one of the 10 core elements of this series, of course. And we know that chronic inflammation is the foundation for nearly every chronic illness.
Right.
So when we think about being able to either prevent chronic illness or better manage chronic illness, or maybe even reverse in many cases most chronic illnesses, which clinical studies say most can be reversed. So that's a big deal,
Yeah.
right? So someone who might have type 2 diabetes, or they might have heart disease or liver disease, we know that from clinical studies that even a moderate amount of exercise can have a huge impact.
Yes.
Huge impact.
Yep.
And so when we talk about being intentional, that's a motivating factor.
That is. And also, like, when you were speaking, I thought about, like, you know, if people lose just like 5 to 10% of their weight, a lot of times that can diminish a lot of health conditions as well.
Isn't that, that's
So that's another
remarkable.
huge motivator,
Huge,
right?
huge. Yeah, so it's not just about the scale, is it?
Absolutely not.
No.
No. In fact, like, the scale is so fickle. And that's why, like, for me, when I'm working with clients, it's not always about the scale. A lot of times it's about, okay, how are your clothes fitting? What are your circumference measurements? How's your positive attitude? How's your energy levels? Maybe it's your belt size, because that scale is going to fluctuate, especially as you start strength training, because muscle weighs more than fat. So your body fat may be decreasing, but that scale number is staying the same, or perhaps it even went up, but your body fat went down, and your circumference measurements decrease. So you have to, like, have a lot of different monitoring spots versus just the weight.
And so when we exercise, we're building muscle mass, and that
Yes.
muscle mass helps to expedite our metabolism. So it's a
Yes.
win-win.
Yes.
And yet so many of the weight loss programs today, for example, they don't even talk about exercise. And I think that's a crime, because it's really
Yeah.
cheating the people. That little bit of exercise can make the difference in not only helping them to lose weight faster, they're going to feel better, and then that muscle mass is going to help them maintain that weight loss once they've achieved that.
Right.
And that is really important in their weight loss journey.
Yes, it is. But back up real quick, because I thought about the word sustainable.
Yeah.
So, like, what people need to realize is, like, this has to become a habit, a lifestyle. This isn't a diet. I don't really like that word,
Yeah.
because it's a lifestyle. You're trying to
Exactly.
live. Like, just try to be healthier
Yeah.
overall and not diet. And so that's temporary. But when you can change habits permanently,
Yeah.
and this is who you are, like, I am a person that works out. Say that to yourself. I'm a person that
Love
eats
it.
clean. Say that to yourself. I get my sleep, 7 to 8 hours on a regular basis. That's who you are. And so that, I think, sustainability is the number one thing people should be focusing on versus, like, short-term practices.
For all the years I've known you, and we've known each other for a long time,
Yes.
you've repeated that to me so many times, that the word diet is a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
And let's make it about our identity. So when we're in a place in our lives where we don't feel good about our lives, and we all go through those stages, we have to shift our thoughts, right? That's a big part of it. And when you just mentioned to make it part of your identity,
Yeah.
that's how it becomes sustainable. So
Yes.
instead of thinking of ourselves as, I'm just a sedentary person, or I'm not a workout kind of person, find it what you love, and that becomes part of your identity.
Yes.
And then you have joy in that, and you're going to continue doing it, right?
Right, because you have that joy, but also you have that shift of that mindset, right? Because you just went from, I'm a sedentary person, or I can't do this, I can't do that, to, like, a positive mindset and outlook. And that's an important thing. Like, I'm a person that the glass is always half full, it's never half empty. So just, even with your wellness journey, think about those times, like, Just don't say, well, I can't do this. I can't run a mile. I can't run 5 miles or whatever. Just, I can't right now. I'm working towards this. It's a difference on how you look at things, how you phrase things. Like, the way we think is how we act. So that positivity and that positive mindset goes a long way.
It's funny, I remember when we first met, Candace, you were preparing for the bodybuilding competitions.
Right.
And we kept running into each other in the hallway, in the ladies' room. And I noticed when you were having your lunches, it was unbelievable, your discipline. And you were very, very young.
Yeah.
Your discipline was so impressive. And I was pretty young then too. And I was always so impressed with the discipline that you had. Not everyone, not all of us, have the discipline that you always had. What would you say to someone who is maybe ready to make a change?
Yep.
They want to embrace a new way of approaching their lives and what they eat and their lifestyle, their exercise, everything.
Yep.
What would you say to that person that's really maybe on the precipice? They're thinking, I really want to make this change, but the confidence isn't there. How would you inspire them? What would you say to them?
So 2 things. Number 1, just jump in the pool and start swimming. Right? I tell people that all the time. Like, people look at us or whoever, you look at people and you think they have it all figured out. They don't, right? You just have to jump in. You have to be active, right? Just jump in that pool, start swimming. You'll figure it out along the way. But that brings me to my second point, which is, again, I feel like adults overcomplicate things. So keep it simple. I want you to focus on just one thing, just one. So like, if you're thinking about making a change, and maybe it's nutrition or maybe it's exercise, I don't know, but just pick one thing for now. And so like, let's just say exercise. So let's say, one thing you could do is I'm gonna dedicate 10 minutes a day to just walking. That's it, all right? Just get that down, get it as a habit where it just becomes so easy to you. Now focus on, okay, what do I wanna do next? Maybe I wanna increase that to 15 minutes, or maybe I want to start weightlifting. I don't know, but just pick one thing, whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and then take it from there.
Love it. It's intimidating to go to a gym.
Yeah.
If you've not been to a gym in a long time, or it can be intimidating. And so if someone wants to go to a gym, what would you say to them? To have a personal trainer maybe, or maybe they want to develop a routine at the gym, but they feel like maybe they don't fit. What would you say to that person?
Again, just go. Like, I think people are friendlier than what we perceive, right? Like, I know there's people that are so focused, they're only doing their own thing at the gym, but I feel like somebody will help you out if you don't know how to use a particular machine, like, or you can always ask too. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. Yeah. So somebody can demonstrate, how to use the leg extension or whatever. Yeah. But also, the workers there, that's what they're there for, whether they're a personal trainer or just a staff or whatever. But I think just go, right? And I think a lot of it is in our head.
100%.
And then you'll realize that whole intimidating factor is really not there as much as we probably think it is.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate everything you shared with us today. And I wonder if you would share maybe 3 or 4 tips for someone who wants to take this on and maybe they're just not quite sure what to do. What 3 or 4 things would you suggest in the area of fitness that could help somebody get started? So
I would say number 1, and I love this, I tell people this all the time, clients, people I meet, but think about this. I know you from business, or the business world, right? So in the business world, we always create mission statements, vision statements, right? But in our personal lives, we rarely do this, but then in our wellness lives, we really don't do that. So number 1, create a personal health and wellness mission statement for yourself, because it answers your why, right? So that why is your defining force that's gonna drive you for that motivation we've been talking about. Like, you have to understand, it's gonna keep you focused. You have to understand why you're wanting to do whatever your goal is. Because if you don't have that inner motivation, it doesn't matter. Again, I can create the best game plans in the world. it doesn't matter if you don't have the motivation to follow it. So what is your why? Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, scheduling your workouts, right? Because again, in business, we have meeting after meeting that's in our calendars,
Yeah.
but we rarely schedule in our exercise.
Wow, so true.
And I feel like people have to have you time. I don't care. I'm saying not for your spouse, not for your boss, not for your kids or your best friend, but you.
Yeah.
Like you time, at least 20 minutes a day. And now I'm not even talking about exercise, but just do 20 minutes of something solely for you. But going back, yes, scheduling your workouts, put it in. Okay, I'm gonna work out at 7:30 in the morning or 6:30 in the morning or over lunch, 12 to 1. Block out that time.
Love it.
And let it be your time. So
I love it.
that's two things right there.
So really, it's about being intentional with our
Yes,
exercise.
there we go with that word. Yeah, it is really intentional.
Candace McField, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
You're terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.